Middle Eastern stores are an essential part of Arab's culture. Unfortunately, there aren't as many stores as desired in Winnipeg, making it harder for people to purchase their groceries. Our guest speaker, Heba Abdel Hamid, will be discussing this topic in all its details. This is Zuhair. Welcome to Civic Platform. Hello, Hiba. How are you today?
Hi, Zohair. I'm good. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you for accepting my invitation and welcome to Civic Platform.
Thank you.
First of all, tell us about yourself and who are you and what are you doing?
Yeah, well, my name is Heba. I am the owner of Al Basha Cafe and Restaurant and Tarboosh Grocery Store on Pembina and Arabesque Cafe on Portage. So I am an entrepreneur of Middle Eastern products and services.
So, from where you get that idea to open like a halal store or a Middle Eastern specialty store?
So I moved to Winnipeg 10 years ago. And when I moved here, there was a major lack in Middle Eastern products and Middle Eastern restaurants and services. So I knew this was something I could capitalize on, and I knew that there was the places that existed already lacked the products and services I wanted and needed. And whenever I would go back to Montreal, I would come back with like luggages full of food because it was things I couldn't get in Winnipeg. It was unattainable. So I knew that this was something that was missing in our community, something that our community needed. And that's why I opened. In terms of
Yeah.
restaurants, when we opened Arabesque, there was really no Middle Eastern space that was created kind of for women that women could be in or people of color that you could feel safe. And that's why we opened Arabesque, and Al Basha was just meant to be a more um, fine dining experience, which was just the things that
Yeah.
were missing in our community at the time.
So the question just crossed on mind. Why? Why this too much less Middle Eastern store or halal store in Winnipeg? What's the reason?
Um, I think because, I think the Middle Eastern community is growing
Mm-hmm.
substantially in the past couple of years. I want to say, especially the past 5, 6 years. I think when the Syrian crisis occurred, there was a major influx of Syrians very drastically and very immediately, which increased our community in a very beautiful way, right? Like, I think every country that comes, people bring in their culture and they bring in the beautiful parts of their cultures, their food, their cuisine, their arts. And it would be such a shame to not have that available to the rest of Winnipeg to see.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And it's just not. I think the Syrians were the most prominent drastic group that existed. Like, I'm Egyptian, and the Egyptian community has been here for a while.
Mhm.
We've been a community that's
Yeah.
been established for at least 30, 40 years in Winnipeg. But you see now recently that there is more immigration occurring within the Middle Eastern communities to Winnipeg, whereas prior to it was more Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver. People didn't really think of Winnipeg.
So when you get the idea and you start your business, can you tell me about like the steps? Everyone like have some fears to start business, especially when it goes to halal store, some kind of this business.
I think if I am going to advise people to open up a business, I think it's incredibly important to create a business plan, right? Because a business plan is like a summary of your business. And that's why banks use it, because it's truly encompassing all things you would need to survive, right? It asks you, what is your demographic? Where are you going to open? Is there the clientele that can support this kind of business? What makes you unique? It forces you to ask all of these questions that occasionally we become blindsided to when you have an idea.
So they think too much about the laws and where we have to go, which paperwork we have to make. So there is like something steps like in this way they have to think about it before they open a business.
Well, again, I think a business plan is just incredibly important because it asks you all of these questions, right? It asks you, how much capital do you have? How much money do you actually have? And what kind of loans are you eligible for? Because it depends on whoever is opening a store, right? Like I think a store is not a small investment,
Yep.
especially if you're talking about produce and products, right? Because you need to have an X amount of dollars worth of products in your store. So you have to make sure you have this capital, and you have to make sure that this product can sell, because products have a lifeline. Again, I emphasize greatly a business plan, because I think it is something we undermine the importance of it, right? But it asks you every single question. And then let's say, okay, you find that you are able to succeed, you are able to fill a gap in the market. Then after that, I would make sure that you have the capital for this, right? Whether you have the personal capital or you need to go to the bank for a loan, that is a very important step in doing and ensuring that you have this kind of money before you go look out for a space, right? Because when you're going to look out for a space, your landlord will ask you for these things. Like, do you have this capital? Do you have your business plan? Who's your clientele? What are you going to be making a year? And if you don't know these exact numbers, I think it's really important to look professional in the steps you're taking. And also, it's really important to not take a major financial risk if you're not sure for it, right?
Yeah.
So after that, I would suggest like you go to the bank or you go to your credit union, or if you have that personal money that you are willing to invest, that's great. That's one less step for you. And there's many resources throughout the city that could help you. There is a women's business center. There's the Winnipeg, the Chamber of Commerce that could help you. There's many small NGOs that are there to kind of help people start businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a good idea. But also, I think before you open up a business, or at least for myself, I love the idea of speaking to other people that are in that
Mm-hmm.
same area, right? Asking them their skill set, asking them things that have gone wrong and how you can improve, if you can find someone that would be willing to mentor you. So, okay, after let's say you find somewhere that you would like to lease, right? This will be most likely through a real estate agent. And with your real estate agent, they will be helping you find the space that's suitable for you. And then you would need a lawyer, right? You have to look over your lease. You have to create a corporation. You have to create your number. You have to create a GST, PST number. When you're a business, the government taxes you, not only on the products that you are selling, but also there's a property tax that you're paying. And so you need an accountant to help you with this. To be able to know what CRA expects of you. So this is where you would need an accountant. You would need your lawyer to help you with the documents and setting up your business initially and making sure you are in a lease that is tangible for yourself. Not being like, I can afford $50,000 a month, but really your budget is $10,000, right? These are things that you have to be realistic about. And then after that, I'm sorry, like I can't remember, but there's the beginning stage is actually one of the hardest stages. I find once you're actually up and running, it's a little bit easier, but just the beginning, because there's so much planning and so many minor things that sometimes just you don't think are important, but they really are. Because, especially for the immigrant communities, sometimes we have these perceptions or notions of opening up a business back home where it's a little bit simpler, right? You can just decide, I want to open up a little grocery store and it's easy, or I can be a street vendor and sell stuff on the streets, right? The kind of requirements you need are different. Whereas in Canada, there's a lot of government requirements and a lot of regulations. Like if you're going to open up a restaurant or a grocery store, you need a food handler's degree, right? And a food handler's degree is essentially telling you that you know how to maintain food safely and properly.
Hi, my name is Bara. I usually come to this store, particularly Tarboosh, and mainly for halal products that I cannot find in the big chain supermarkets like Walmart or Superstore. There's a lot of products here that I do not find anywhere else, and I normally prefer to, and I would like to see more stores like this one for sure, as I'm able to see more products that I used to consuming, and products that I also can consume, because for example, if I shopped at Superstore, Walmart, I'm limited to less products, as there's less halal options there compared to here where everything is halal, so I get to shop freely and not have to worry about the ingredients or anything like that in the products. This kind of shops are very important, they're very essential. They provide products that, like I said, you cannot find anywhere else easily. It is usually like you have to hunt down stores and like contact every store to see which product you want. But stores like this one that brings more, especially focus more on Middle Eastern products, it's very important as you find stuff that you do not find in other stores very easily. And that's what makes it very important for newcomers or for everybody. It's also easier when you don't know which products exactly what the product would be called, or how you would even explain it sometimes to other stores. When you come here, you just find everything you need. It's much easier, and much easier than going to different stores to find every product you want. Also, the other part of it is that it brings back definitely that feeling of home. If people feel homesick, you don't even need to be like looking for a particular product. Just coming here, you see a lot of products that you normally see back home. It brings you definitely that feeling of like you're being home, and makes this place also feel like home. That is definitely one important aspect of having these kind of stores, is that they bring home to you here, and it makes it feel like home.
So from where you bring your like all the halal stuff, some or meat or something like that, it's from you import them from Winnipeg, or from Canada, or from outside of the of country?
So it depends. There are certain things you can, like meats here, we try to be as local and organic and grass fed as possible. So we buy our meats from Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to Middle Eastern products, there's certain suppliers that do exist in Canada that make the products more accessible, right? But then in other terms, there's a lot of things we are importing ourselves from Egypt or Saudi Arabia or UAE. In the beginning, we were importing a lot from Syria, but it's changed now a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So there are ways that you can bring things from Canada. There are companies that do the importing for you, but if you are just relying on that solely, there is things that are going to be lacking.
Yeah. So you face, I believe, like some challenges when you open your business, especially in Winnipeg. Can you tell me some of these challenges you face between you as an owner and with the customer or with the city? So which kind of challenges you face?
Well, we were very unfortunate in the time we opened, because we opened and the pandemic happened right away. Like, we got possession, and a few months later, the world shut down. And in the beginning, we weren't really expecting this to be something that would affect us in Canada. In hindsight, I look back at this, and it was just a very narrow-minded perspective. We were just like, okay, this is like something that's happening in China. And we started panicking the terms maybe a little bit too late, when we saw that suppliers in China started shutting down. So the pandemic was by far the largest challenge for us, because we were stuck. There's nothing you can do to overcome this pandemic, essentially. Like, there were so many factors that were out of your hand. Like, in Tarboosh, there's Al Basha, which is the restaurant connected next door. And for a year and a half, we had this space that we weren't able to use.
Yeah.
So it became incredibly difficult, right? Because sure, you can survive on delivery, but I don't think that is the route that we wanted our business to start off. And I didn't want that to be our reputation. So the pandemic was a major difficulty, and it created so many challenges financially, in terms of being able to get supplies. There was, and even till today, we see so many continual backlog of products, right? You're able to get a product one time, and you might not be able to get it for another 6 months.
My name is Omar. I'm from Iraq. I always love to coming to this Middle Eastern restaurant and grocery. I live by down St. James. It's really complicated for me to drive every day from my house to here to get the stuff that we need. This Middle Eastern grocery and restaurant has been really good for me and for my family, because we always get our grocery from here. It just feels like we were in back home. So the stuff that we find here, it's really good and reminds us of how we used to shop back home and how we used to get our stuff. So my family loves coming here to this place and getting their grocery, getting their needs. And I hope one day there's lots and more stores that will be providing the Arab community with their needs.
So, as you as like an owner, you have a lot of small talks with the customers. What they are require from you, most of like supplies or like something specific. What they looking from your stores or the halal stores in general?
I think a lot of customers often want things that bring them nostalgia, things that remind them of home. And sometimes it's like you know, a lot of Syrians and used to ask me for these candies called kanadir, right?
Yeah.
These like I guess they're called like fondant candies. And I'm Egyptian, right? So I had no idea what this candy was. So I'm like asking the gentleman that work with us, what is this candy? Like, you know, because so many people were asking for it. So we brought it and it was just for me something so simple, but they were just ecstatic for it, you know? And then you find every community kind of has something that really brings them a lot of nostalgia, things that sometimes don't cross your mind.
Yeah.
But like, so like for the Egyptian community, there's this chocolate. It's called Corona actually, and it's one of the oldest like chocolate manufacturers in Egypt. And when we brought it in, it brought such a wonderful sense of nostalgia for people. And more the older like the older generations versus like the younger ones who wouldn't necessarily focus on Corona because now there's so many different kinds of chocolate bars that exist.
Yeah.
But it's wonderful. I think like the beauty for me in being a small business owner is I can control the inventory I am bringing in, right? Whereas when you're at a large franchise, it's not really to say, it's kind of like what sells fast, what makes the most profit, and that's what's important. But I can kind of control and bring in things that I know bring a sort of happiness to a family, which not necessarily is the most profitable, but it's a great addition to have to your store.
My name is Levi. I shop here because I love the local products that are brought in from all over the world. I know they are ethical and fair trade, so I enjoy shopping here. For myself personally, growing up in Winnipeg, I've done a lot of traveling and I've gone to some of these different countries where a lot of these products are from. And I know in Winnipeg, it's harder to find. So I believe that we do need more of these stores in Winnipeg. For example, they have the Moroccan mint tea, and myself living in Morocco, I love to come here and get different types of Moroccan products. Some of my favorite products that they carry are the cosmetic Moroccan oil. It's fair trade, organic, 100%. And a portion of this actually goes back to purchasing school supplies for kids in Morocco. So I like how this is a great product with high quality that I can find locally that gives back to communities. As well as other reasons why I shop here is because it's super fresh. All the foods we see here, some of them actually are made in-house. So these are some of the reasons why I love to shop here. For newcomers, I think that having stores like this are essential, as it is a piece of home for a lot of them and it can bring a lot of comfort. I know in Winnipeg there isn't many of these stores. I would love to see more of them as they're very far and few between. And people who are new to Canada, it might be difficult for a person to go across the entire city if they might not have a vehicle yet. So I would love to see more stores just like this in local communities throughout Winnipeg, as well as in central areas. For me, I would absolutely adore it. For the newcomers, like I said, I think it would be really welcoming for them as well.
You put some decoration every season for like Ramadan, for Eid al-Fitr, for Eid al-Adha. And this is like, it gives the customer some good feelings, like some stores celebrate their celebration. How you make that focus, and you focus on this things and you present it to your customer?
That when I opened, I knew the things that were lacking in our community, and I felt I also come from Egypt, keep this in mind, right? Where our festivals, Christmas, Eid, whichever one it may be, are huge. You go into the streets and there is like decorations all over the streets, there's lights, and this is a core feeling of celebration, and especially for children. And when you are growing up in a Western society, I think if you're celebrating Christmas, it's amazing because Christmas is such a joyous time of the year in Canada. But if you are, let's say, if you are celebrating another holiday that is not Christmas, it becomes difficult because there's no feeling of community per se. So it was really important for myself and my business partner that when we were creating our space, that it felt festive. It encompassed all the things we miss from back home. And one of my favorite feelings was really walking down the streets in Egypt during Eid or Christmas and seeing the lights and hearing the music. And that's what we did, So every season, every holiday, we decorate the store because it creates a feeling that you are, even though you're not back home, it creates that temporary moment that you are feeling that, and now we have decorations available. And I believe we were one of the first ones to bring any sort of like Ramadan decorations. And, I think in terms of maintaining parts of our culture for future generations, these little things are really important. Because, as a father, Zohair, this, right? Like your children don't necessarily have the same memories you have from Syria.
Yeah.
Right. And so no matter what, it will never have the same kind of importance you place on it. Right. So what I think is really important for our community to do is kind of try to reenact the beautiful parts of our cultures and the beautiful parts of our communities. And so our children can have these memories.
I had a small talk with one member from our community, and I said, when you miss your home country, what did you do in Canada? He say, you know what? I go to Middle Eastern stores and I stand there just to take deep breath and just remember this the smell of za'atar and the sweet. It makes me just remember and bring those memories back and bought something I was eating them in my home country. And this is like something very benefit for the immigrants when they arrive, they come to Canada, to have this kind of stores.
It's such a beautiful addition, not just for the Middle Eastern community, but any community to start having their own ethnic stores. And it's really important on the individual level, as what you're saying, because our cultures are such a core part of our identity. And it becomes really difficult when you immediately lose that and there's no sense of community, or there's no way you can feel that you can control the process of grieving you're feeling when you come to a new country. That often occurs. And when I first came to Winnipeg, truly, I felt that there was a major discrepancy in what I was used to. I'm used to seeing so many Arabs. I'm used to hearing Arabic and eating certain foods. And when I first came to Winnipeg 10 years ago, even the halal stores were very different, right? There wasn't the large Arabic community that there is today. So the products that were available were very limited. So I continuously, even when I went into the Middle Eastern store, even though you felt a slight relief, you still felt something was missing. And really, that's why when we opened Tarboosh, this was our goal, was to fill in that gap, fill in that space. There was one halal store that was the original store, basically, when I first moved here. And I wanted Rumi. Rumi is like an Egyptian cheese. And I would tell him, I'd be like, bring this for me. I want this. And he'd be like, okay, but you have to take the whole barrel of cheese if I'm going to bring it for you. Because I don't have the clientele to sell this. And I'm like, bring it. So I would be stuck with like a $600 thing of cheese just because I really wanted it,
I see.
And I would eat that cheese all year long.
Yeah. So there is like another challenge with Middle Eastern stores. Like many people, they say it's like little bit far from our houses. We need to like take long ride to get it because we have just limited less options. So in the future, do you plan to have like extra branches in Winnipeg, or that it will be something very hard?
Yeah, I hope so. We are looking in the process of creating and opening another branch. And but these things take time, they take process. And it's as our community grows, there certainly will be more options available. But yes, there will be a Tarboosh too coming around eventually.
Okay, great. Because it's very important for everyone to have a chance to get something close to his home, especially in South Point area in Winnipeg. There is very limit halal store, maybe like just one or like, and it's not serving all the community in the same time. Also in different areas and neighborhood, they looking for when I speak with my community. So they looking for something extra in upcoming like months or years. So maybe it will be like a good opportunity to serve them. So what is like the final things you want to share with us? We are looking for like uh, a nice conclusion.
Well, first, thank you, Zohair, for taking the time to talk with me. I think this is a beautiful conversation. And it's really nice because you are my customer, right? So, and you've been our customer from the get-go, essentially. So you've seen the process, you've seen our growth. And, in the time you've been in Canada, you've also seen the growth of our community.
Yeah.
And it makes me so happy, when more stores open, more Middle Eastern stores open up. It's such it has a positive impact on our community. I think competition is great. Competition is important for the community. It's important for individual stores, and it's great for the consumer, right? The more options, that means we are, as a community, are growing, and that means that there is more interest besides
Yeah.
our community.
Nice.
When we opened Arabesque, I have to tell you, it was really a learning process that I had to teach Winnipeggers. We had to teach Winnipeggers what shawarma was. We had to teach them what falafel was, what hummus was. And, it wasn't every time someone that was not Arab came, it was a consistent conversation and like an education process. It wasn't a simple process. Whereas now, luckily, 7 years later, there is that base conception of what Middle Eastern food was. Whereas 7 years ago, there was not, right? I think Indian food was a very prominent idea of what people had. But they didn't understand, they did not have an idea properly of what Middle Eastern food, even though there are some really beautiful older restaurants in our city, right? Like Baraka has been there since like 1990, I believe, right? But maybe it was just Baraka at that time, and people just kind of like had that perception as Middle Eastern food, and that was it. And then, we've grown, and that makes me really happy.
Heba Abdel Hamid, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time, Zohair, and your energy. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Take care.
And here we have reached the end of our video. We hope you enjoyed it and gained new helpful information. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please like, share, and subscribe to see our upcoming episodes.